Nkrumah talked about borderless Africa.
Yeah.
I've been a victim. I just had a brawl at the Togo-Ghana border just because I refused to pay bribe.
Yeah.
I mean, as a young African trying to travel within Africa, it's extremely difficult to travel within Africa. I mean, you're once a president. You don't think Africa need a border? We should be a borderless continent, just like Europe. I had a visa for Germany. I was in Austria. I was in Netherlands. No one asked me anything. But on the continent of Africa, there's no free movement of people and goods.
We prepared the protocol for visa-free travel in Africa. We're going to pass it in Kigali. At the last minute, there were objections from, I remember South Africa, but there were 2 or 3 countries that objected and said we should delay it until much later.
This is the journey to One Africa.
Your Excellency, you know, everyone has been saying that you're such a nice guy, but I thought it's just online. Yesterday I met, yesterday I met you and Harry going somewhere. You were like, you know what? I'm busy, but I'll see you later. Did you actually come back to look for me?
Yeah, I came and
you came
looked
back.
for you. You were nowhere to be found. But it's good to meet you.
No,
yes, I've heard so much about you. And
have you ever seen my videos before?
Yeah, my children watch you. And they told me about you.
I think you need to start watching me, and I know that you're going to fall in love with me.
I will. I will.
Your Excellency, you know, these questions are coming from me. I'm going to do more like the questions that a layman Ghanaian has been asking, and you know, general African questions and stuff like that. So my first question, I mean, you were once the president of Ghana.
Yeah.
And the people of Ghana decided to change you.
Yeah.
I know and believe that you want to be president again.
Well, maybe. You never know what happens.
What are you going to do differently this time?
Yeah, I keep getting asked this question. We did a lot in my time. And at the time, our focus was on infrastructure because we came and met a situation where our infrastructure was degraded. And so, of course, all the investments that we raised, we put into improving the roads, building interchanges, expanding the airports, new terminal buildings. We built a new harbor. We built new hospitals, new schools, and all that. I know that if we do come into office again in 2025, the fiscal space is going to be very narrow because of the economic crisis in which we are. And so I do think that the next phase we should be looking at, we're not going to have enough fiscal space for large infrastructural projects. But I think that what Ghanaians are looking for is a change in our governance system, a review of our constitution, a strong fight against corruption. I mean, those are the kinds of things young people are looking for. But at the same time, raising investments and putting them in areas where young people can get opportunity to develop their full potential. And so I think that is the agenda for a next NDC administration. It might be me, it might be one of, we're going to have primaries and people are going to contest. And so you cannot presume that I'm going to emerge as the presidential candidate. And
I know since you're a nice guy, you're talking about corruption. Will it be possible for you, I mean, discipline people who are corrupt in your government?
Yes.
Because that's one thing that we've been fighting about. I know and believe that you heard about the problems of Africa when you were growing up. I mean, it's been there all the time. Everyone keep on saying the leaders, the leaders, the leaders. You don't think that narrative needs to change?
It must change. Today, we held a side event. I'm the chairman of the Tana Forum, which is the leading peace and security think tank in Africa. And we're talking with our European counterparts, and we're talking about investment in Africa, having more control of our natural resources, and issues like that, bilateral trade, the African Continental Free Trade Area. But I was honest to say that other issues that are within our own control to review are things like corruption, good governance, more democracy, free speech, protection of human rights. Those ones, you don't need any foreigners to come and do for you. You need to do those yourselves. So those are issues that we must resolve ourselves internally. And then based on that, we can go and sit on the table and tell others that this is what we want to see.
But definitely, you know the fundamental problem of our economy.
Yes.
We actually export more of our raw materials and importing finished goods.
Little value addition.
Your Excellency, you don't think this must change just to help the local entrepreneur in
Even
Ghana?
before you talk about value addition, there's the problem of our huge food import bill. When I was in office, we were importing about $500 million worth of rice a year, and we're producing some locally. Today, we're importing $950 million, almost $1 billion worth of rice. And that is only rice. You talk about tomato products, you talk about vegetable cooking oil, you talk about poultry products, you talk about fish and all that. There is the need to diversify our economy. You cannot do it overnight, but the process must start, that we're able to cut down our food import bill. If we're able to cut down our food import bill, we'll be saving Ghana $3 billion a year. That alone is enough to reinvest in the country and be able to add the kind of value that you are going to talk about.
But how do you intend to achieve that?
I think that farmers need support. We've approached it the wrong way. I realized some of the things that we ourselves did mistakes with. We imported tractors and agricultural equipment and we gave it to farmers. The farmer does not need the tractor, he doesn't need the agricultural equipment. He needs the services of a tractor. So somebody who knows how to maintain that tractor must have a service center where he provides the services to the farmer. But we gave the tractors to the farmers. In a year or two, the tractor has broken down because he doesn't know that every 6 months you must change the engine oil, you must change the filters, you must grease the tractor. He doesn't know that, so we'll approach it differently. I think that this government had an opportunity with the Planting for Food and Jobs. I think that money, part of it should have gone into setting up agricultural service centers where companies that know how to handle agricultural machinery keep the machines, but they offer the services to the farmer at a fee. If the farmer is not able to pay, you can give him a credit line. When he harvests his crops and he sells his crops, he can come and pay what he owes. It will even help with agricultural credit.
Because one of the things that I do on the continent is to travel different African countries, promoting young entrepreneurs. And one of the problems that everyone talks about is funding, especially in the agri sector.
Yeah.
I mean, the youth of Africa today cannot fund this kind of project. So I don't know if the government will come in terms of, if your government comes to power, you'll come in terms of providing funds for young farmers. I think that would be incredible, man.
You see, the thing about agriculture and farming is you need the big entrepreneurs to go in, and then based on that, if they put in the processing and the nucleus farm, then you have outgrower farmers. And you can bring the youth in and scale them up as they make money. I mean, it's done in Kenya. It's done. You have the big tea plantations, but then you have the small tea farmers too. And the small tea farmers, when they grow, they sell to the big tea plantation who process the tea for export, and so everybody makes money. You cannot just take a small young entrepreneur and build him into a successful farmer overnight. He needs to be mentored by a bigger entrepreneur. And don't tell me we don't have entrepreneurs in Ghana. We have them. They're buying Ferrari cars. They're buying Bugattis. Instead of looking into agriculture. I mean, one of our MPs said, if you want to be a poor man, go into agriculture. He doesn't know. He should go to East Africa and see some of the richest people are farmers. And I'm sure that if our people just stopped trading, as soon as somebody gets money, all he wants to do is trade. Make so.
Yeah, no.
And then go to China, go to Dubai, go bring things, come and sell. And so when duties are high, we're crying, Guta is on strike, and so on and so forth. But I mean, if we're able to grow what we eat what we grow, I think that we would be successful as a nation. It's a process that must start. And I had hoped that this government would be able to start it. But unfortunately, the economic crisis in which they have landed the country, I wonder how we're going to be able to raise the capital. But these are the kinds of projects that African Development Bank is interested in.
I mean, I think my audience will be a bit sad if I don't talk about Africa because we're focusing on Ghana too much. Yes. I know your father used to be in the Nkrumah's government. Yes. So are you a fan of Kwame Nkrumah?
Yes. I grew up as an Nkrumahist. I still am an Nkrumahist. My actual first political orientation was CPP. Wow. Yeah, and so I joined NDC when it was formed.
Nkrumah talked about borderless Africa.
Yeah.
I've been a victim. I just had a brawl at the Togo-Ghana border just because I refused to pay bribe.
Yeah.
I mean, as a young African trying to travel within Africa, it's extremely difficult to travel within Africa. I mean, you're once a president. You don't think Africa need a border? We should be a borderless continent, just like Europe. I had a visa for Germany. I was in Austria. I was in Netherlands. No one asked me anything. But on the continent of Africa, there's no free movement of people and goods. I mean, I will want to ask you, because I'm so much advocate for this. And when you come to power, what are you going to do to change that?
Well, I was president of Ghana, and so I was a member of the AU, Authority of African Heads of States. We prepared the protocol for visa-free travel in Africa. We're going to pass it in Kigali. At the last minute, there were objections from, I remember South Africa, but there were 2 or 3 countries that objected and said we should delay it until much later. Now, you know what I did? I came back to Ghana and I said, well, if the other countries won't pass it, we'll pass it in Ghana. And so I allowed visa-free travel for all African passports. You can apply for your visa at the airport. And people started taking advantage of it. Today, if you have an African passport, you can travel to Accra and apply for the visa when you get to Accra. And it hasn't changed Ghana in any way. Nothing extraordinary has happened. So I don't see why we cannot start with visa-free travel. In ECOWAS, we have it. ECOWAS, if you fly into Nigeria, you don't need a visa. I agree with you that the borders and the parochial things that the people do there it's not sanctioned. I mean, these are corrupt individuals who try to take advantage of a situation. Otherwise, in ECOWAS, we should be able to travel to and from each other's countries without paying anything, I mean, the passport control or whatever control is just for record purposes and to capture the statistics of how people go back and forth. But otherwise, you're not supposed to pay anything. And I do think that we should sanction people like that. You should have reported whoever it was.
I did. I even made videos about it, but nothing happened.
I see.
And it's not just me, because I met thousands of people at the border who did not have the 2,000 franc just to cross to Togo, so they were stuck at the border. And the same thing happens from...
Was it on the Ghana side?
On the Togo side. So I finished...
You have to pay 2,000
So
francs.
it's everywhere. If the Togolese are coming to Ghana, they have to pay. If Ghanaians are going to Togo, they have to pay. It's something that exists at our borders.
Is it a single stop border crossing point? Because we built, before I left office, I know we built a border crossing point where both the Togolese and Ghanaian immigration and customs were supposed to do a one-stop check.
It's not like that.
You're talking of Aflao?
Aflao, yeah. It's not like that.
Aflao, you come to the Togolese side, then you cross over, come to the Ghanaian side.
Exactly. Before I let you go, I know my time is up, but Your Excellency, when it comes to Ghana, I know there is a national development plan, but we don't implement the national development plan, and that is hindering Ghana's development. I personally believe that Ghana will never develop if we don't start working on our development plan. It's just that I saw you did projects somewhere around the Volta region, going to the Volta region. When the next president came, they abandoned it. Yeah. I don't think it has to be like this. If there is a national development plan that if you're out of office, the next president that comes to power needs to make sure he continue where you left. What are you going to do different with this law that we have in Ghana?
We developed the national development plan. We had a 40-year development plan, and we spent government resources developing it. We consulted the chiefs, we consulted everybody, the MPP were involved, we consulted parliamentarians, everybody. And then we adopted the 40-year development plan. When the new government came, they threw it out and then replaced it with Ghana Beyond Aid. I haven't seen that plan yet. Nobody has consulted me on it. I don't know what is in it, but that is the unfortunate truth. Any new government that comes throws the development plan of the previous one away. And even though our constitution says that any government that comes into office must continue the projects, development projects of its predecessor government, unfortunately, that doesn't happen. I started building 200 community day schools. You know, almost 50% of them are abandoned. Some are completed. This government has refused to open them. It's a pity, but that is part of what is holding us back as a country.
Your Excellency, thank you so much for your time. This is our away match, yeah? And I know and believe that we're going to have home match when I see you in Ghana. Thank you so much for coming, and I really appreciate you.
But I just want to take the opportunity to extend my condolences to the family of our football staff, Christian Achu, who died in the Turkish earthquake. Yeah, may his soul rest in peace.
Thank you.
Thank you.